Right now, I mean, literally right at this exact second, there is a silent piece of code calculating the exact kinetic probability of whether you will get into a car crash on your commute today.
Yeah, and meanwhile, another entirely different algorithm is quietly deciding if you are going to be approved for a mortgage tomorrow.
Right. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are opening up the AI News Daily Digest from June 6, 2026.
It is a really fascinating issue, honestly,
It really is. And the mission for our analysis today is simple. We are moving entirely past the buzzword of artificial intelligence.
because it's just a buzzword at this point.
Exactly. We want to map out the underlying mechanics of how these systems have become the silent partners that are actively steering the trajectory of your daily life.
And doing that requires looking past the consumer-facing apps on your phone. You have to examine the invisible architectural shifts in how complex systems actually operate.
Right.
We are looking at a fundamental transition in how data is processed to manage both physical and digital realities.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the digest breaks down this transition across four major areas. It looks at how we move, how we heal, how we spend, and how we relax.
Yeah, it's a very comprehensive breakdown.
So let's look at the physical space first, specifically the automotive industry. The source notes that automakers have essentially stopped being mechanical engineering firms.
Right, they've become data processing companies.
Exactly. They are putting machine learning right at the core of self-driving technology.
Well, the mechanical challenge of moving a chassis from point A to point B that was solved a century ago, the modern challenge is real-time environmental categorization.
Which is incredibly complex.
It is. The algorithms powering autonomous vehicles are taking in gigabytes of sensor data every single second. I mean, they are pulling from optical cameras, radar, and LiDAR.
And for anyone who doesn't spend their weekends reading autonomous vehicle spec sheets, LiDAR is basically the system bouncing millions of laser beams off the surrounding environment every second.
Yeah, it's a constant scan.
Right, to build a highly detailed, real-time 3D map of the world. It provides depth and texture.
Which is absolutely crucial because the machine learning model has to perform what we call sensor fusion.
Sensor fusion?
Yeah, it has to resolve conflicts between those different data streams in literal milliseconds.
Oh, I see.
So let's say the optical camera sees a dark shape on the asphalt and categorizes it as a shadow. But the LiDAR system detects that the shape actually has physical mass and density.
So the sensors are basically disagreeing with each other.
Exactly. The algorithm has to instantly assign a confidence score to both inputs, realize the optical camera is being tricked by the lighting, categorize the object as a blown-out tire, and then calculate a new trajectory to avoid it.
And the digest points out that the real hurdle isn't just spotting the tire, right? It is the algorithmic math of what happens next.
Right, the system has to calculate the classic trolley problem in real time.
Yeah. If swerving to avoid the tire means clipping a pedestrian or hitting a concrete barrier, the AI has to calculate physics, mass, velocity, and trajectory all to choose the path of least kinetic impact.
It's just wild to think about.
It is executing decisions based on a continuous loop of probabilistic math. It's like having a perfect chauffeur.
A perfect chauffeur.
Yeah, like a driver who never gets sleepy, never blinks, possesses 360-degree vision, and magically knows exactly where a crowd is about to need a ride before the crowd even realizes it.
That is a great analogy. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that constant mathematical calculation is driving a massive systemic shift in city infrastructure.
How so?
The ultimate goal highlighted in the source material is moving from individual vehicle convenience to macro-level optimization. You have to think about traffic as a problem of fluid dynamics.
Oh, sure. I mean, a traffic jam is basically just a cascading failure of human reaction time.
Exactly.
One person taps their brakes too late, the person behind them slams on theirs, and a shockwave of stopped cars ripples backward for miles.
But an AI system doesn't have that delayed reaction. It calculates the deceleration of the vehicle 3 cars ahead and adjusts its own speed by a fraction of a mile per hour to maintain the flow.
So no shockwave.
Right. The digest points to a future where traffic is treated as a unified, mathematically optimized stream.
And the ride-hailing platforms are already doing this on a macro scale, right? They aren't just reacting to someone opening an app and requesting a ride anymore.
No, they are using predictive models They analyze historical drop-off data, local event schedules, and, even weather patterns to pre-position their fleets.
Right. The system anticipates the demand spike at a specific intersection before the crowd even pulls out their phones to get a ride home.
It is entirely about anticipating friction and smoothing it out before it occurs through pattern recognition.
Which actually provides a perfect bridge to what the digest covers
Yeah,
next.
the transition to healthcare.
Because the exact same foundational technology, you know, training a neural network to recognize an anomaly in a chaotic visual environment, that doesn't just apply to spotting a tire on a highway.
No, not at all.
It applies to navigating the incredibly complex landscape of the human body.
And the implications for computer vision in healthcare are profound. The source material outlines how researchers are deploying AI systems to analyze medical images.
Like MRIs, X-rays, CT scans.
Exactly. And it does it with a level of accuracy that fundamentally changes diagnostic timelines.
Because it is looking at the voxel data, right, which
Yeah.
is basically the 3D equivalent of pixels in an MRI. It uses that to find the anomaly.
Yeah, the mechanism here is mathematical deviation. A human radiologist, no matter how skilled they are, is looking for visual variations in shades of gray.
Which leaves a lot of room for human error.
Right. But the AI is examining the mathematical luminosity value of every single voxel, and it compares it instantly against a dataset of millions of other scans.
Oh, wow. So it's looking for a gradient change that deviates from a trained baseline of healthy tissue.
Precisely. It spots the earliest, faintest whisper of a cellular abnormality long before it becomes a mass visible to the human eye.
And the digest also delves into precision medicine, which kind of takes that same concept of finding the needle in the haystack and applies it to your personal biology.
Yeah, this is a huge step forward.
The AI analyzes your genetic markers, your medical history, and your lifestyle data to predict molecular interactions.
So it isn't just looking at statistical averages to prescribe a treatment.
No, it is modeling how a specific chemical compound will interact with your specific genetic makeup to recommend a highly personalized therapy.
And we are seeing that precision extend right into the operating room with AI-powered surgical robotics.
Yeah, the source mentions these robots are performing minimally invasive procedures, which reduces patient recovery times. But how does the AI actually interface with the physical surgery?
Well, it really comes down to real-time depth calculation and tremor filtration. The robotic arms can execute sub-millimeter movements.
That's incredibly precise.
It is. The AI maps the real-time video feed of the surgery against the patient's preoperative 3D scans.
Okay.
So it acts as a hyper-precise guide, ensuring the physical instrument only moves exactly where the digital map allows. And that drastically minimizes trauma to the surrounding healthy tissue.
Wait, okay, I have to push back on this a bit on behalf of anyone listening who has spent time in a modern healthcare system.
Sure, go ahead.
The digest claims this technology is going to free up doctors to focus on patient care, but hospitals are massive corporate businesses.
They are.
Are they really going to pay a physician their salary just to be empathetic and hold a patient's hand? Or are they going to look at this AI doing the diagnosis and the robotic surgery and just use it as an excuse to hire fewer doctors and increase their profit margins?
This raises an important question, especially about the economic realities of these tools.
Yeah.
However, the source material stance is that AI actually alleviates the administrative and analytical burden.
Meaning what exactly?
It means it actually increases the throughput and the quality of outcomes. The human doctor doesn't become obsolete. Their role shifts to the edge cases.
Oh, so they become kind of like the supervisor of the algorithm.
Precisely. The AI will flag anomalies, but it will also assign a low confidence score to complex multi-systemic issues that just don't fit the historical data perfectly.
Right.
The physician becomes the strategic manager of the treatment plan, resolving the conflicts the AI cannot process. The return to empathy and direct patient care is basically a byproduct of removing the massive data entry and rote analytical tasks from their workflow.
Okay, so the machine handles the raw data processing, allowing the human to manage the nuance.
Exactly.
That dynamic actually mirrors the next area the digest covers perfectly. We're moving from the physical reality of the body into the abstract realm of finance.
Yeah, it's a very similar pattern.
Because finding a hidden anomaly in a vast ocean of medical data is, well, mechanically identical to finding a fraudulent charge in an ocean of global credit card transactions.
It really is. The financial sector is built entirely on data velocity and risk assessment, which are the two things machine learning algorithms handle best.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The digest notes that AI is massively enhancing fraud detection by flagging unusual transaction patterns globally.
Right.
If we think about AI as a bouncer for your money, it has evolved way past just checking your ID at the door.
How do you mean?
While the old way of fraud detection was rule-based, did you type the password correctly? Yes or no? But this new AI bouncer is looking at the metadata of your behavior.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, it is analyzing the geospatial data of the transaction, like the microscopic mud on your shoes, so to speak.
Yeah.
It calculates the purchasing velocity.
Like, did you just buy a coffee in Seattle and then try to purchase a television in London 10 minutes later?
Exactly. It
Mhm.
even measures the time it took you to type your password, looking for behavioral deviations. It calculates a threat score in milliseconds and stops the bad actors at the door.
That is an incredibly accurate way to describe behavioral biometrics.
Thank you.
The algorithm is constantly establishing a baseline of your normal financial behavior and instantly triggering defense mechanisms the moment a data point falls outside the accepted standard deviation.
And while one hand of the AI is playing defense, the other hand is acting as a personal wealth concierge through robo-advisors.
Yeah, the robo-advisors mentioned in the digest operate on continuous simulation. They're not just picking stocks based on a quarterly report.
What are they doing instead?
They are running Monte Carlo simulations.
Which means
They are testing thousands of future market scenarios. They factor in real-time global economic data, geopolitical shifts, and inflation rates, and they test all of that against your specific portfolio and personal financial goals.
that is a lot of math happening in the background.
It is. They dynamically adjust your asset allocation to optimize for your target retirement date.
The digest also points out that AI is completely overhauling back office operations. Things like loan approvals, which used to take weeks, are just being automated now.
Right, because human underwriters previously had to manually verify income, pull credit histories, and calculate debt-to-income ratios using unstructured data.
Like reading through PDF bank statements or email attachments.
Exactly. But natural language processing algorithms can now extract the relevant data from those unstructured documents instantly.
Just pulling the numbers right out of the text.
Right. They feed it into a risk matrix and output an approval decision in the time it takes a web page to refresh.
It is the exact same macro-level efficiency we saw in the automotive and healthcare sectors. The AI handles the high-volume data categorization, which redirects the human workforce.
Yep.
The financial analysts and advisors stop doing paperwork and pivot to high-level strategic roles, advising clients on complex estate planning or tax strategies that an algorithm just can't fully grasp yet.
It forces the human worker further up the value chain.
Which makes total logical sense. But as the digest moves into its final section, this dynamic between human strategy and machine processing gets heavily blurred.
It really does.
We are leaving the highly objective world of logistics, biology, and numbers, and entering the deeply subjective world of human culture and entertainment.
And the source material focuses on how AI has transitioned from organizing content to actively shaping it.
It starts with the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
We all know they use algorithms to recommend what we should watch next, but the digest details how granular this curation has actually become.
They really want to minimize the time you spend searching and maximize your engagement.
Right. So what's the mechanism behind that?
Well, it relies on tracking micro-behaviors. The platform isn't just categorizing you as someone who likes action movies.
Okay.
The AI is analyzing the exact pacing of the editing in the scenes where your engagement peaks. It notes whether you tend to finish films with warmer color palettes versus cooler ones.
Oh, wait, it looks at the color palette.
Oh, absolutely. It records the exact timestamps where you pause and never return. It maps all these psychological preferences into a high-dimensional vector space to serve you highly personalized recommendations.
That is slightly terrifying, but also fascinating. But curation is just the entry point, right? The digest highlights that algorithms are now functioning as co-creators. They are generating scripts and composing music.
What's fascinating here is understanding how an AI actually writes. Large language models do not possess imagination. They operate on probability.
Right, they're just predicting the next word.
Exactly. Because they have ingested vast libraries of human literature and screenplays, they understand narrative tropes as mathematical sequences.
Oh, that makes sense.
They know that in a vector space, the concept of the hero's journey has a specific statistical proximity to a mentor's sacrifice.
Wow.
The AI is predicting the next most logical sequence of words, or the next most logical audio frequency in a song, based on the patterns of what has historically resonated with human audiences.
Okay, but this brings up a massive question about the nature of what we are consuming.
Let's hear it.
If an algorithm writes a script based entirely on the mathematical probability of what millions of us already like, is it actually creating anything new?
That is the big debate.
Or is it just feeding us a perfectly engineered, highly complex mirror of our own existing viewing habits? Are we just trapped in a loop of iteration, getting recycled versions of what we already know?
The tension between iteration and innovation is the defining challenge of AI in creative fields right now. By definition, an algorithm optimizes for engagement based on historical data.
Right.
It is inherently designed to fulfill expected mathematical patterns. This is why AI often struggles with things like high-level comedy or subverting expectations.
Because humor and surprise rely entirely on breaking the established mathematical pattern, right? In a way that makes cultural sense.
Precisely. So an AI can write a technically perfect three-act structure, but it might lack the weird, unexpected edge that makes a movie brilliant,
Nah, I hate that.
which is why the digest specifically uses the phrase creative collaboration. The AI provides the structural foundation. A human writer might use the algorithm to instantly generate 10 variations of a dialogue scene.
Or a composer might use it to generate a complex baseline melody.
Right. And then the human artist reviews the output, and they inject the subversion, the soul, and the cultural context that the AI just cannot compute.
So the machine provides the clay, and the human sculpts it.
Beautifully said. It remains a tool, just like the surgical robot.
We have covered a truly massive amount of ground today.
Right.
We looked at the kinetic math driving our morning commutes, the voxel analysis scanning our bodies, the behavioral biometrics guarding our bank accounts, and the probabilistic language models co-writing our entertainment.
And the overarching takeaway from the source material is that these systems are no longer experimental concepts hovering on the horizon.
Right, they are here.
The architecture of society has already shifted. AI is the deeply integrated, silent partner, actively optimizing the fundamental mechanics of our daily routines.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means that understanding the mechanics behind these tools, knowing how LiDAR works or how a large language model predicts text, it strips away the magic and the intimidation.
It absolutely does.
When you realize that the AI driving your car and the AI checking your credit card are both just incredibly fast pattern recognition engines, the world becomes a lot more manageable. It empowers you to navigate this landscape strategically, rather than feeling overwhelmed by the pace of technological change.
And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. Building on the digest premise of AI integration.
Let's hear it.
Today, we analyze these four areas: automotive, healthcare, finance, and entertainment, as distinct operations. But the underlying code is becoming increasingly standardized. What happens when these isolated systems begin communicating with each other through centralized data brokers?
You mean cross-system integration?
Imagine an interconnected AI framework that detects your personal financial stress levels from your banking data's purchasing velocity.
Okay.
It simultaneously recognizes an elevated resting heart rate from your wearable medical device.
Wow, okay.
What happens when it feeds that combined data into your entertainment algorithm, subtly altering the pacing and color palette of the media generated for you on your autonomous drive home, specifically mathematically engineered to lower your blood pressure?
That is wild to think about.
When the silent partner in the background knows everything from your molecular makeup to your financial feels, who is really steering the trajectory of your day?
That is an incredibly vivid scenario and exactly the kind of systemic question we need to be exploring as these technologies mature. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, look for the patterns, and we will catch you next time.